Incorrigible is the word that was used to describe women like Velma Demerson. Jailed at the age of 18, her only crime was being a young white Canadian woman in love with a Chinese man and pregnant with his son. Originally from Vancouver, British Columbia, Demerson moved to Toronto with her mother as a child, a result of her parents' divorce, and took shelter in a rooming house on Church Street. It was close to where she met her first husband, Harry Yip, a young waiter at a local cafe on Yonge Street. Falling in love, they soon began planning their future together. To elope in a time when interracial relationships were not only condemned, but when violent acts by white supremacist hate groups like the KKK were applauded for their enforcement of the status quo. It was at their house that she was arrested for the first time. One spring morning in 1939, a pregnant 18-year-old Velma was met by the police and her father right at her doorstep. Disgusted by the life she had chosen, her father traveled to Toronto from Vancouver to have her arrested under the 1897 Female Refuges Act. This act, only repealed in 1964, allowed the government to arrest and institutionalize any woman between the ages of 16 and 35 for behavior that would be considered unmanageable and promiscuous. This included pregnancy out of wedlock, public drunkenness, and vagrancy. She was first taken to the Belmont Home for Wayward Girls, and later transferred to the Andrew Mercer Reformatory for Women. Described as a dark, formidable fortress, penciled black against the white sky, it was here that she and many other women like her were used as medical experiments, subject to cruel procedures that were done in the name of equality. Performing them was Dr. Edna Guest, one of the few women who had graduated from the University of Toronto in 1910. A supporter of eugenics, she was a firm believer that the incorrigible behavior within women was a side effect of overactive sexual glands. Her work, she believed, would even the field between men and women, the promiscuity within women being a product of faulty glands, a sickness, she thought, that would prove that women were not inherently inferior as her male counterparts claimed. It was this work, however, that plunged the Mercer Reformatory deeper into embodying a living hell. Having attempted to escape such a prison, once discharged, having been perceived as unfit to be a mother, her son was sent to foster care. The only light at the end of this dark and insidious tunnel was her marriage to Harry Yip. This too, however, came with repercussions. Her Canadian citizenship revoked as a result of the 1946 Canadian Citizenship Act that stated that any woman who married a non-Canadian was deemed to have taken her husband's citizenship. Years later, at the age of 81, established as a writer and social activist, Demerson finally received an apology from the Attorney General of Ontario, months after the Ontario Superior Court had refused to hear her case, citing that they were immune to lawsuits from incidents prior to 1964. She lived out the rest of her life researching the eugenist doctor that, by government approval, had doled out such tortures upon the incarcerated women of Mercer Reformatory, and demanding justice for their experiences in Toronto's very own House of Horrors. Her story shares a portion of the injustice and cruelty that have been faced by countless women in Canada's history, and we must continue to bring to the forefront the voices of the unheard.